Okay, welcome everybody to the Austrian Grand Prix. This is round 6 of the Race Spec Elite Series. I am your host Ken Tenma, and today we have 19 cars on the grid. We are a little ways into qualifying as we had some technical issues, but we are here now, and currently it looks like a wet qualifying, which should be interesting indeed. We have 40 at the top of the standings at the moment with a 1:08.6, and as I say that, Zach Crichton goes faster with a 1:07, and he is currently on a provisional pole unless someone can do faster than that in these testing trying conditions. Chapelele's done well, a 1:09 flat. Pure Gold a 1:09.3. Have Bullet Boy in the mix there, Josh as well, Geordie, I Contrast, Spilly, Waggy, Matthew Dernier is on the grid today, Crossy, and we still have a few drivers who haven't made any laps yet. That is Aaron Lewis, Samu Pepito, Levs, Miku, Toddstar, and Dougie Falcon. So we'll be eagerly awaiting for them to come out onto the grid. But Austria, always a tricky track, the shortest on the circuit. You fly around here, I think you end up doing 36 laps in a 50% race, which is what these guys will be doing today. And it can be tricky with the setup. It's a very fast circuit, but it has a lot of high-speed corners mixed in with a couple of slower ones, so it can be difficult to get the setup on. And I know with a full carload of fuel at the start of the race, it feels a lot different to when you're doing qualifying laps. So the guys need to be very careful in their opening laps, not to go too wide with a heavy car and take a few others out while they're doing that. So tricky race, one to be mindful of those types of issues. As we see a Red Bull going out onto the track there, we're currently going to follow 40. Let's get up a few things on our screen so we can see what's going on. We have a full track map there, so we can see a lot of cars on the circuit. As I said, a short lap, so hopefully no one gets in each other's way too much. And we'll put the tires up there as well so we can see Lewis has gone out on mediums, and I said it was raining before. It looks like it's dried up, so we will be going with a soft qualifying, and you can see those times are tumbling as we're speaking, with Crossy on pole now on a 1:05.6. Miku a 1:05.7. I expect them to go a lot faster, dropping down into the 1:04s before the end of this qualifying session. And while we do have a few cars out on the track at the moment, let's just have a look at our driver standings. And you can see 40 leading the way on 50 points. Darren 11 only 3 points behind him on 47. Then Josh M at 97 on 45. Such a tight championship this season. Everyone's in it to win it. Zach Crichton's made his way up the leaderboard after a disastrous few races at the start there. He's now on 43 points. Matthew Dernier has been an up and down season, that's for sure, on 41. Toddstar up and down as well on 38. And I think that's the story of most of these guys, having a good race one week and then a terrible one the next. And that's why it is so close at the moment. As we see Aaron, Spilly, Dougie Falcons, and I Contrast will round out that top 10. As we flip over to the constructor standings, and we can see Red Bull leading the way on 75 points, and this is equally as tight. Racing Point on 73 points, only 2 behind. Ferrari 65, Alfa Romeo 62, Williams still in with a shout on 54. We'll see what Crossy and 40 can do today. Mercedes making their way up the grid. Zach Crichton and Plevs will be looking to get some points here in Austria as well. They are currently on 51. But I would say everyone is still in with a shot of coming home with the constructor standings. Haas do have some work to do, but it is not impossible from here. Let's head back to the track. As we can see, Josh has set now the fastest lap, a 1:04.1, and is a rapid lap. Swaggy a 1:04.2, 40 a 1:04.2 as well. A smidgen behind Swaggy there. And we have Chapelele, Bullet Boy, Toddstar, Matthew Dernier, Pure Gold, Crossy, nice lap, and Miku running at the top 10. I do expect this to shuffle and jumble up a fair bit. See if we can get someone on a lap. As Bullet Boy, no, he doesn't appear to be using too much ERS there. I don't think he would be on a lap. He's maybe just saving a bit to go on a lap next time. Let's try and get one of these guys who has not set a lap yet. Aaron hasn't set a lap and he's got no ERS, so I assume that he is on a quick one. That's right on board. It does look like he's pushing here. Let's see what time Aaron is able to do. He's following Samu before our last couple of sweeping right-handers. Doesn't use all the curb there on the left, and he goes into the pits. That's probably why. Samu Pepito, he's going to cross the line and jump himself up into 7th with a 104.5. Not a bad lap there from the McLaren driver. After that delayed start, we're starting to get a few more viewers into the chat. Let's hear your predictions. Who you think's going to win this one? The hotly contested Elite Series this season in Season 2. And I expect it to continue right to the end of the season. So points are critical, and finishing positions, as usual, will determine how we get those points. As Plebs has managed to get himself a 104.6. Can anyone beat this time that Josh has set? A 104.7. He's currently in the pits now, probably waiting to do one more hot lap. Lucky Falcons coming into the pits. He'd be happy with that 5th position at the moment, as everyone looks like they're going to come in before they go out to do one more hot lap. And the one that I can see who hasn't set a lap and will be keen to get near the front, we spoke about him when looking at the driver standings, and that's Zach Crichton. One of the hot favourites to take out the Elite Series, and he's put himself under a lot of pressure here. Obviously going to get a warning for slamming into the pits at that type of speed. And Aaron obviously invalidated on that previous one, so he'll be looking to put in a really good lap here as well. So we'll watch our mini-map and we'll wait to see a few drivers come out, and we'll see if we can keep track of them. And who's this out first? It was an Alpha. I think it was Lewis. Lewis is out first, followed by Samu Pepito. No, it's a pink. That would be Josh. We've got Lewis followed by Josh, and then it's going to be Todster. Lewis, Josh, Todster, Rossi, and Josh's teammate Spilly is coming out after that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Bit of cat and mouse here, bit of games. Who's going to take the lead? You can gain a couple of tenths from slipstreaming, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage that on this outlap. So I do expect a few little games of cat and mouse on this last qualifying lap, that they're all going to perform here. Josh didn't have a good race last race. But the race before took out Spa, I believe, from memory. So a little bit up and down. I'll be looking for that consistency. Swaggy and Bullet Boy managed to finish off their hot qualifying pace last race and get a good result last week in Brazil. 40 had that massive accident after the Senna S's. That brought on a safety car, I think. But it was a huge shunt, and talking to him after the race, it looks like he just dipped the tyre onto the grass and had a huge moment and really put it in the wall, ended his race, and I think he ended a couple of others as well, which is unfortunate for those who couldn't avoid the Williams as it bounced off the wall back onto the track. But that is racing, and it happens sometimes. And look at these two working in unison. Rossi has given 40 a huge tow up that straight, and that'll work out beautifully for 40. We do have Josh ahead of him at the moment. Plebs is settled for 11th. High Contrast is settled for 14th. That Crichton, he is out of qualifying. Didn't make it across the line. And Swaggy, Josh has finished a 103, so he's dipped into the 103s. Who's going to be able to manage that? Who's that off? Is that 40? No, that's not 40. Crossy is not going to better his lap. 40 doesn't go faster. Is Swaggy going to be able to go faster? He's coming down now. Bullet Boy, a 104.1. Swaggy still. Here he comes. He's going to come around here. Is he going to put himself on pole? So close. second. He's going to be on the front row of the grid at 104.1, but that's a rapid lap from Josh. It looks like he bought his skating boots here today. A 103.8, massive lap from the Racing Point driver. Crossy's going to retire, just gave his teammate a slipstream, doing the team thing there. 40 wasn't able to take advantage though, still in 5th. Not a bad lap for the Williams driver. Zach Crichton is last. He's going to have to do a last to first special here. As we can see, we have Josh and Swaggy on the front row of the grid. Dougie Falcons and Bullet Boy second row. Another good qualifying for those two. 40 and Aaron third row of the grid. Samu and Shapalele. And then rounding out your top 10 will be Spilly and Crossy F1 in the other Williams car. Let's head over to our intro. And then we'll be right back for the start of this race. As everyone is just loading now, deciding on some setups. We're here on race day. It does look quite cloudy in there, so we might be up for some mixed up weather, which will prove interesting during the race if that does come to pass. Generally, our strategy here is a soft to medium or medium to soft, whichever way you want to play it. But it can get very tricky as you are pushing the very limits of that setup. Because the softs do deteriorate quickly, but you have to keep going on them for another couple of laps to make sure you can make it to the mediums. The hards here are generally not great. You don't want to end up on a set of hards unless you really have to. But with the changes Codemasters made to safety cars, we are seeing them come out for serious incidents now. So we've got odds on for a safety car here today. So it'll be how those drivers manage that strategy and when they come in as well. As we see the Racing Point, Josh M97 with a huge lap, a 103.7. It was a few tenths faster than anyone else on the track. I'll just remind everyone, this is the Elite Series. The only assist you are allowed here is a racing line on the corners. Every other assist is turned off. Most people don't even use the racing line on the corners though. Just there for the few that do need it. But overall, these guys are racing with no assists. So this is the pinnacle of race spec on the PlayStation at the moment. And the very peak is Josh M97 in Austria with a rapid lap. Swaggy's done well to get himself up onto the front row of the grid as well. He'll be looking to follow on his good momentum from last week along with Bullet Boy. Dougie Falcons is showing he's still got pace here as well. The story right now is we have iContrast, Geordie F1 and Zach Crichton, the back three of this grid. Three of the fastest drivers here are right at the back, so that's definitely going to mix everything up. Let's just bring eyes everyone's on. We have a few on the mediums, so we'll keep an eye on that. But here we go. Start of the Elite Series. We are in Austria, the Red Bull Ring. Josh M97 on pole. We have two lights. 3, 4, 5. Waiting for the lights out. Lights out and we are racing. Josh F1 looks like he's got a good start. Dougie Falcons gets a good start as well. The Renault's trying to weave his way through. That's Bullet Boy. He's on the outside of Swaggy. Is there going to be carnage in the first lap? No. Renault Bullet Boy gets pushed wide. McLaren comes back on the track, and that was Samu Pepito, but Josh has got a great start here, and Dougie Falcons has jumped Swaggy, who's still being swamped by a lot of drivers there, including Bullet Boy. Aaron's made a great start. 40 is going to be on the inside there, and there's contact between the Renault and Swaggy. Bullet Boy and Swaggy have had a little bit of contact there, holding their positions, though it doesn't look like there's too much damage. But these two at the front are getting away while there's a bit of haggling down in the field. As Samu's losing out of position there to Chapalele, who goes round the outside. And he's going to keep that black and yellow Renault in front of the McLaren. 40's lost a position there as well. Aaron's done quite well to stay in front of 40. And the story here is Zach Crichton, he's managed to get up 2 places on those mediums already. Levs has dropped down into 13th. Miku on the mediums, he's in 12th. Matthew Dernier started well on the mediums. He's up into 9th as we come through for our first lap. Remember, you don't have DRS until the 3rd lap. And short laps here, so it won't be long until we see the DRS come out. And that'll help a lot of drivers up this main strag. Pull up right beside them, and then we slow all the way down. Famously, we saw Charles Leclerc leave the door open for Verstappen near the end of that race in 2019. And are we going to see some of that hard racing, a little bit of elbows out here today? Everyone has filed into an orderly queue. It looks like there's a couple struggling at the back here in Geordie and iContrast. Zach Crichton, he's going to make a move. He locks them up. And he's got past Pure Gold, so next on his bucket list is Lewis, if he's going to be able to get past that Alfa Romeo. We'll head back to the front of the grid now. Josh M97 holding sway over Dougie Falcons. Swaggy and Bullet Boy, everyone's filed into order now. And it looks like we're not going to see any more games for another lap or so, probably until we get some DRS drag reduction system, as Josh sets that fastest lap. And let's see who has made some inroads on the position change marker here. As we can see, Dougie Falcon's got the jump on Swaggy at the start of that race. And he's managed to stick onto the back of Josh here at the moment. Another big winner was Matthew Dernier. We saw him on the medium tyres, so he's going okay there. Chapalele, no huge changes as we see Tide Stars managed to get past. Looks like Miku, who's still right up his gearbox there. He's going to probably have another look. Is Plebs. Sorry, it was Plebs who managed to get past. Plebs trying to go around the outside. That didn't work out for him. He's still really close to the back of this Red Bull. Todd Stays, you can have a look down there. That's probably not the best place because you do lose a lot of momentum if you can't keep the nose in. And he can't. And now he's under a lot of pressure from Lewis. He's going to be right at the back of the Mercedes as well as they come through here. Matthew Dernier down this sweeping double right-hander. And he's trying to chase down the McLaren and Samu Pepito. Let's head back to the front of the grid. As Dougie Falcons now has a bit of DRS. Is he going to make a move on Josh? Let's find out down this straight as they see the letterbox open. Is he going to send a letter on this turn 2? Very heavy braking zone. Not close enough here. And we'll scroll down just to see if anyone else wants to have a look. Not quite yet. A little bit of cat and mouse going on. Bit of a lock up there from the Williams driver in 40. As we see our leader just cross along there. Rosario just in the chat is predicting Swaggy to bounce back from losing that position at the start of the race. Not a bad prediction. Swaggy does have a lot of pace. It'll be able to see if he can keep it on the track all the way around here. He showed he has the ability last race in Brazil. We're looking to follow it up, but his nemesis here, Bullet Boy, in the Renault is very close to him. As we see, 40's making a move. He's going to get past Aaron and slot back into that braking zone. Very nicely done. And he's going to hold on to that position. Little bit of a tail wag coming out of that corner, but he manages to keep a hold of it, and he's moved himself up into 5th. But Aaron is going to bounce back. He's going to have a look down the inside, and he does. Bullet Boy also gets the move done. We'll stick with this battle But it looks like Bullet Boy's got past Swaggy, as you can see in the foreground there. And Aaron and 40 are still going wheel to wheel, and they're going to go wheel to wheel into this right-hander. You've got a slow right down, kiss the apex. Oh, big lock up. Aaron's going to switch back on him a little bit here. Probably not enough to get his car in front. And 40's going to hold that position. Bullet Boy up onto the podium now in his Renault. He's dropped a couple of places now. Just got to settle into the groove here a little bit. No major incidents today. So yeah, all the cars still definitely within this race. Geordie has fallen a fair bit back. Looks like he's had an off somewhere. Zach Crichton has not been able to get past Lewis, which is interesting. He seems to be just stuck behind Lewis. So he won't be too happy about that. He'll be looking to try and get ahead of a few places to make up some ground. And there is a bit of a gap between Lewis and Plevs, and then another gap between Miku and Todster. We'll just head back up to the front here. And Chapelele gonna have a look. Another lock up. You want to take care of your tyres around here. And it can get very dicey. The strategy for the softs to mediums is generally around that lap 14, 15. We've got a yellow flag. Who's dropping down the order? That's Plevs. It is Plevs. He's had an off. Wonder if he's had any damage. We don't know. Had contact with anyone, or if he's just taken himself off. He's got a lot of work to do now from the back. It doesn't look like he's too far behind, but he is at the back of this big train going around the Red Bull Ring at the moment, as we are getting a great helicopter view of Bullet Boy chasing down Dougie Falcons. Just slowly eking out a little bit of a lead here. I can't quite break the DRS toe, but 0.7 seconds. And Todster, we see him picking up a penalty. That's one thing that does impact race results in... Oh, we see a big dive down there. And it looks like Chapelele, it's a bit of contact there between Aaron and Chapelele. Got locked wheels. And still got a bit tangled up between each other. Hopefully there's no damage there, as we're on board with Aaron. And he's going to try and have a look. Just kissing that apex. He's going to stay behind Chapelele. He now puts himself into 6th position. And there's a bit of a gap now between Matthew Dernier. He's got a bit of a trolley train going on behind him. He is on those mediums, so these guys still have pace in the softs, and they're putting him under a lot of pressure. But the longer Matthew can stay out there and keep up with that lead pack on the mediums, the better off he will be, because he will be rapid near the end of this race, as Miku looks like he is past Eye Contrast. As we head into lap 8 now, Josh still in the lead of this race. Aaron has got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so there must have been damage and contact between Chapelele and his car. He's coming to fix it and copped a 5-second penalty. I can bring up the tyre selection. We've had a request in the chat. There's a tyre selection. And Spilly's got a 3-second penalty. So I was saying before, and 40 is getting around Swaggy. So Swaggy's slowly dropping positions here. A bit of lag spike there, but looks like 40's moved himself over into 4th, and now Swaggy's down into 5th place. So he's slowly losing pace on those soft tyres, this Swaggy, and he'll be under pressure from Chapelele before too long. But penalties are crucial here. You get too many penalties, and you can see yourself drop down the order quite rapidly. I'm going to relate this track to Sochi, Germany, those type of tracks where you can see everyone racing quite close to each other and there's not too much distance. Even at the end of the race, you can drop down a lot of positions. As we see, someone's gone around. Zach Crichton's made up. A few people are going into the pits. I thought someone had gone around. A few are going into the pits. Tammy Pepito and Chapelele's gone in. So they're going in a little early, lap 9. They obviously believe that they can make their mediums go to the end. Plebs moves up into 15th. So Chapelele, Samu, Aaron, and Pure Gold. Pitted. Pure Gold still on the softs. So it doesn't look like he's pitted. He's had an accident. He's come off somewhere and he's right at the back of the grid. And we have a yellow flag in sector 3. And someone's coming into the pits there. That's Pure Gold. He must be struggling. I'd say he'd have wing damage. Still leading this race is Josh. Bullet Boy has moved very close up to Josh though after getting past Dougie Falcons, it looked like, while we were trying to keep track of what was going on in the pits. And they're all going in the pits. So they've decided lap 9 is the way to go. Hanging on any longer would be taking too much time out of their lap times, and they would be sacrificing position on the track. So those guys who came in just a little bit early, and this is where the pit crew comes into it. Who's going to get held up, who's not. Oh, and that was an unsafe release from the Racing Point team, but Josh is going to stay in front of Bullet Boy. And let's see if the undercut worked for those guys who came in. That was Chapalele. Samu Pepito came in a little early there. Effectively, your leader of the race is still Josh. Bullet Boy, and you got Plebs has been thrown into the mix there with no pit stop yet, so he'll have a role to play here in shuffling the group up. But it looks like 40 has got ahead of Chapalele. But 40's doing it. Is it doing a two-stopper? He's on softs. So 40 obviously thinks the two-stopper is the way to go here. So we're seeing a lot of different strategies. Josh has gone on the hards. I think we're seeing a lot of two-stopper strategies here, which is very interesting. So maybe as this game has gone on in time, everyone used to believe that the soft to medium one-stopper was the way to go. And the more people have played this, I've worked out there's more time to be saved by two-stopping. And I'd say that'd be the case for most people here. They're doing two stops. Ones that are still capable of the one-stopper. Zach Crichton is definitely capable of a one-stopper as he gets past Crossy here. So it's a door. Oh, very close there from Toddster. Just throwing his weight around, throwing the Red Bull into that corner. A little bit of contact maybe. He's slipstreaming Crossy. He's going to try and get around him here. We'll stay with this action. And he gets that move done. So Toddster's move ahead of Crossy. And it looks like Bullet Boy's got past. With a bit of a lock up, he's got past Geordie. And he's got past Josh as well. So those medium tyres are working out. So are these hards going to work out for Josh? This could be an error in strategy here from Josh. He's fallen behind. And Bullet Boy, with a little bit of clean air now, will be looking to pump some good lap times in. Give himself enough of a buffer to make that two-stopper work. Zach Crichton gets a penalty. Pure Gold has retired from the session. Lewis is out of the session, did not finish. The Keys had an accident somewhere along the line. A few more coming into the pits. Billy's coming into the pits now. Going to put on the mediums. Anyone who's coming into the pits now, so Spilly, no, he's going softs. So he'll be two-stopper as well. Anyone who's sort of around this mark and is still on the softs, so Toddster, Crossy, Eye Contrast, Plebs will be looking to do the one-stop strategy, I believe. So, mixing it up. If only we saw this in real F1 with all these different strategies going on. And it looks like Aaron's got past Sammy Pepito there, made a little bit of a mistake. Plebs is struggling. Dougie Falcons is struggling as well. He's on the mediums. And he's right back at the back. I'm not sure what happened to him there. We're watching at the front. And it looks like we've missed Dougie Falcons. I have an incident maybe, but he's now right at the back. Let's see who has stopped. Yeah, Dougie Falcons has made a stop, and he's quite a way back now. So that's going to be an issue for him. Chapalele's ahead of Swaggy as well. The Swaggy's really losing out. He doesn't have too much pressure behind him, so he can sit there and clear his head. There's 40's making a move on Josh. Oh, Josh is... What's happened to Josh? Is Josh out? He is. Josh has crashed. He's lost his entire front wing. He'll be out of the contention for the podium, that's for sure. Oh, that's so sad. He had such a hot lap during qualifying. Gonna try and get round. I wouldn't retire from this race. If there's a safety car here, you can still be in it to win it. He should come back in, put the mediums on. There is a safety car because of Josh. It's just popped up on the left of my screen there. So there is a safety car. So he can still come in, put the mediums on. Still be in contention here. So a lot of guys pit before. This is going to work out for the likes of Plebs. Possibly. No, he's probably too far away to put softs on. But let's see, Zach Crichton's going to do something here. You could still go two-stopper from here and go softs. I think that might be what Zach Crichton's going to do. No, he's going hards. Is that hards? It is hards. Zach's going to go to the end on hards. Interesting. Very interesting strategy. He must believe that he has the pace to be able to do that. Who else? Zy Contrast is coming out on softs. So he's going to do the two-stopper. Aaron's serving a penalty in the pits at the moment, and he's put a fresh set of softs on. So he's doing a two-stopper as well. Josh is coming in. I thought he might put the mediums on, but it looks like he's going to go softs as well to go two-stopper. Try and keep that pace up, I think. And a few losers here. Possibly Matthew Dernier, Todd Starr. Rossi probably would have wanted to pit. I'm not sure if he's going a one-stopper. It might not be too bad. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Billy saying he got held up in the pit lane for 10 seconds because Pure Gold's car was stuck at the exit, blocking the exit. Oh, Pure Gold's crashed, trying to get into the pits, and looks like it's impeded Spilly's race. He's down in 13th now. That's extremely unfortunate. That's what happened to Spilly. Not sure about Dougie Falcons. It might have been a similar issue. Let's recap what we've got going on here. We've got the safety car is currently out because Josh had a massive accident, lost his entire front wing. He's still in the race though, down in 15th with a new set of soft tyres. But currently leading the race is Matthew Dernier on the medium tyres. And we have Todd Starr, Rossi, and they're both on softs. Haven't pit yet. Miku hasn't pit yet either on the mediums. We have Bullet Boy, who's on 5-lap old mediums. He's doing the two-stopper, but a bit of a reverse. He won't be very happy with his safety cars. He had a nice little lead going on there. He'd managed to get himself ahead of Josh and 40. 40 is in a not too bad position here on the softs. And Bullet Boy would be thinking, so will Chapelele, if this safety car has given them enough life in the tyres to go to the end, do they need to pit again? This is the intriguing thing about this race. It's who needs to pit again, who can manage their tyres. Do a bit of a Jenson Button special, manage the tyres. Maybe a Hamilton complain that his tyres are terrible the entire race and then go 57 laps on them. Just depend to see who can hold on to the tyre for as long as they can without losing too much pace. The mediums, you're looking at about 60% here where they really start to feel quite bad, and you're really trying to hold on to the rear end. So once you're getting into that zone, you're starting to really roll the dice, bit of Russian roulette style. After that, punctures after 70-75%. That's who's come in. Toddster's decided enough's enough. He's coming. No. Chapelele, sorry, came up on the screen, and 40's come in, and Zach Crichton's come in. So Zach Crichton's come in, and he's decided, okay, so he's changed his tyre because he started on the mediums. He's serving a penalty here. Serving a penalty, maybe speeding the pit lane. Inters. Is it raining? That's very... Chapelele 40 and Zach Crichton have gone in and come back out on inters. Well, we said at the start of the broadcast it did look very cloudy, and if we were going to get a rain-affected race or some weather involvement here, and that is super interesting. Coming out on inters. I can't actually tell if it's raining on the screen, but they must be expecting it. Huge strategy decisions here. Chapelele 40 and Zach Crichton coming out on inters. This is huge in context of this race. Is it about to bucket down? We can see it spitting down from the view of Zach Crichton's Mercedes now. And have they just made a genius move that's going to pay off and put them into the lead of the race? Chapelele and 40 were near the top, but Zach Crichton is right behind them, and he's managed to... He'll leapfrog a lot of people. This could be genius from the Mercedes. Renault and Williams making some good calls there, and the safety car's in this lap, so no one else has the opportunity to do this. Now, the issue that they have is those inters, it's not inters right now. It is definitely not intermediate weather right now. So they'll be hot. So they've got to try and keep them cool. Don't shred them before it does actually start raining. And Swaggy, he's made the call too. He said, I'm coming in now. And I think he's going to go intermediates, but he's going to be near the back. Hopefully he'll be able to catch up, but he'll have a long way to go. So let's head back up to the front of the grid. Matthew Dernier's got a little bit of a jump on Todd Stark-Rossi. He's going to have a look here on Miku. They're going side by side. Different compounds of tyres. Oh, and who's that in the Renault? Bullet Boy. He wants a look as well. He has a bit more pace than these two in front of him. Is he going to be able to get past them safely, as it's going to get greasy now? And who's going to make a mistake as the track changes? We can start to see a bit of mist coming off the track, especially when they were braking there. That wasn't a lockup, I don't believe. Geordie on 16 lap old mediums, he'd be starting to feel it, especially the more this drizzle comes down and the grease starts to lift to the top of the track. Treacherous conditions here as more have come in. Swaggy, Josh, Dougie Falcons have also come in, but they're a long way behind now as all of these drivers are going around. Oh, and Geordie's gone around. Oh, we said how bad his tyres would be feeling. He's gone around and someone clipped him. So he'll have damage from Geordie losing the rear end. And ironically, that damage has kept him on the track. Well, that hit right at his car and kept him on the track, and he's still in this race. Unfortunate for whoever hit him, but Spilly is going to get past Samu Pepito here. And all of these guys that have to start thinking, I need to get on them inters soon. When is the best time to do it? Bullet Boy has gotten past Miku. I originally thought it was Miku who lost the rear end, but it was Geordie who's not having a good race here in Austria and must not be one of his favourite tracks. And I agree with Rosario in the chat. Very risky move for those three to jump on the inters. It's still not interweather here, I don't think. DRS is still in play. We'll check it down the straight. I may have missed the announcement, but I think DRS is still in play here. As I contrast, he's managed to get himself up into 5th on those softs, and no one else is coming in yet. So we've got 6 drivers who roll the dice, see what they can come up with on these inters. Here we go. I contrast. Is he going to be able to get past Miku here? He's definitely going for it. Yeah, DRS is still open. So generally in Codemasters Formula 1 2019, there is a yellow flag. We'll stay here with Todd Stars. He's going to have a look at Bullet Boy. Doesn't get the move done. Miku has dropped a couple of places there. Aaron managed to get himself up. As I was saying, generally the cutoff to change tyres is when they turn DRS off. That's generally when intermediates are better than softs. So as you can see, these guys are putting in some moves, so they're not too scared of the track conditions at the moment. So there must be a lot of grip still on those softs, and it doesn't seem to be getting heavier for me. And Chapalele is still 10 seconds off Geordie, so those tyres, I mean, if it gets to the point where it's a pit stop in between, it hasn't worked at all, because these guys are going to be able to pit stop and still stay in front of them. Spilly's going to get around Miku, and Bullet Boy, they're in the pits. Everyone's coming in, so maybe it has worked out. Everyone's decided into the way to go. Here they come. I contrast has stayed out. Spilly stayed out. Matthew Dernier is on to inter, so everyone's changing to these intermediates. Everyone's coming on to intermediates. This is going to work out the siege. Chapalele is able to take the provisional lead of the race, or ahead of all of these other drivers. It looks like he is. Matthew Dernier's coming out. Oh, bit of wheel spin for Matthew Dernier there. He's got himself out, and he is in the lead of this race. So it didn't really look. It's worked out perfectly for Zach Crichton. It hasn't worked out great for 40. He's still sort of in the same position as Aaron. Just pushes him out of the way. He says, mate, you're going too slow, and gets past him there. But I wonder how much damage they did to those on the dry track. But the fresh inters and Matthew Dernier put in some solid laps, still on the slicks, and he's in the lead of this race. High Contrast, Billy, Plebs, and Miku. Miku and Geordie will be thinking the horse is bolted here. As we have a yellow flag, sector 2 flashed up there. Might have been a bit of contact between those drivers down the back there, and Swaggy, Dougie Falcons, and Josh. And all the last of those drivers who were not on the intermediates are coming in now, and I think, yeah, the horse is definitely bolted for them. They're going to be in trouble here. Going to come out right at the back. So your new leader of the Austrian Grand Prix, 21 laps old, is Matthew Dernier. High Contrast, is he going to hold that position? He has. The other Ferrari has leapt into second. But this has worked out brilliantly for High Contrast. Zach Crichton has managed to get up into fourth. Chapelele is still sitting there pretty. Aaron 40 is in sixth, so he's not too far behind. Spilly, after having that mishap with Pure Gold's car in the pit lane, he's managed to get himself up into seventh, which is really good work from him. Big losers here. Bullet Boy, it looks like he's lost out massively. Dougie Falcons had an issue before. Josh is the one who caused the safety car. He's now last. First to last. That's the reverse challenge. It's not the one you want to be doing. He's now last in the Grand Prix, but Matthew Dernier, we're still on with our leader. Here is Ferrari 1-2. This is going to work wonders for them in the Constructors' Champions if they can hold on to these positions. But High Contrast put his thinking cap on here and has done a little bit of a strategy masterclass to be able to come out in second. He's got some heat coming his way from Chapelele and Zach Crichton. We don't have DRS anymore, so it's just going to be pure speed and the will to get past someone without overcooking the brake entry. You don't want to dive too much in these conditions, otherwise you'll be out on the slick stuff. And it can be hard to get back onto the track trying to turn the car and go a little bit like a boat if you go too wide here and you go over that yellow curb. But we'll turn tyres off because we all know what they're on. We'll leave positions up for the moment because you can see Zach Crichton done really well to get himself. A little bit of a mistake there from Chapelele. Opening the door here for Zach Crichton. Is he going to make the opportunity his? No, just cooling his tyres there, getting a little bit out off the racing line. And that's another thing you can do. It does work in the esports realm as well, is putting yourself off the racing line to cool down those tyres. I think Chapelele is getting a little bit out of sorts there. He's struggling a little bit in these conditions. And a few drivers can be found out when it does get wet. They always say that the best drivers do it the best in the wet. Senna was amazing in the wet. A few others really good in the wet. Verstappen, Hamilton, the modern drivers who show they've got pace in the wet no matter what. I was, interestingly enough, listening to a Jos Verstappen interview where he knew that his son Max had it when he saw him go around in a go-kart and go last to first in the wet. He was just faster than everybody else, and he knew there was something special about his son that moment. As Bullet Boy's had a bit of an issue, he's back down behind Spilly now. Is there damage? He's going to make a move on Spilly. He's going to go on the inside. Wheel. He's going to hold that. It's going to be tough. He does manage to get past Spilly there. He's going to move himself up into 7th. So we did see him come and shuffle back down into 8th, Bullet Boy, and he's starting to make his way back up the grid. Oh, a lot of tail wagging there from the Renault. But he's managed to make it stick. Plebs has got himself up into 9th, which is really well done after having some huge problems and being last at one stage after coming off of the track. It just goes to show that if you stick to your guns here in Austria, you can still get some points for your team. And that's what Plebs is doing here today. Hopefully he can hold off Samu Pepito for Mercedes to get some extra points here. Zach Crichton's doing really well up in 4th place. Samu Pepito, or ever consistent, there or thereabouts, week in, week out. And Swaggy is out. Swaggy has lost his car there. We didn't see the accident. We were following those mid-tier guys and maybe trying to overtake Bullet Boy again. I'm not sure. But we'll try and stick with this view where we can see as many cars as possible so we can catch some accidents if they do happen. It looks like Bullet Boy is going deep there again. Gonna go on 40. They wheel to wheel. 40 gonna have fight back. He is. He's gonna stay here. He's gonna keep it stuck there. Gotta leave room. Well done. Good racing between them both. There's a little bit of dirt there for Bullet Boy. Gets a time penalty there. It's a bit unfortunate. We might have that scrubbed at the end of the race. Not his fault. But he's still up the back here at 40. We'll stick with this because knowing Bullet Boy, he's not going to let this one go. He's going to make another move. Maybe the end of this straight, maybe the end of the next one. But those Ferraris out in front doing really well. They got themselves a gap now to the Renault. Zach Crichton all over the back of Chapelele. He's going to want to have a look soon because he's going to need to catch those Ferraris that are out in front. Aaron is still sticking under the back here of Zach Crichton as well. So with 40, Bullet Boy. Spilly wants a piece of Bullet Boy again. Also, see what line they take into this corner. Bullet Boy's just harassing 40, looking for an opportunity, looking for that mistake that'll open the door and let him to get past the Williams and get onto his next victim that he's hunting down. But knowing 40, he's not going to let this one go without a fight. He's going to try and pull away, catch up to Aaron. No DRS, so he can worry about what's in front of him a little bit more, but with Bullet Boy, he's, oh geez, close to the back of that Williams. There's no room for error here. I'm going to stay with this because I just feel that something's going to happen. So here we are, we're with 40 and Bullet Boy. Let's see what happens at the end of this straight. Up the hill. Oh, Bullet Boy, he's lost traction. He's lost traction, we saw that, and he's hit damage. He's back onto the track. Has everyone managed to dodge that? I think so. Bullet Boy's reversed off the track to get out of the way, but he did hit the wall hard and bounce back onto the track, and Bullet Boy is out of contention in this race. Just a lot of wheel spin, maybe trying a little bit too hard, put the foot down a little bit too heavy, and he's out of the race. He's retired from the session. And Dougie Falcon still at the back of the pack. But Matthew Dernier and iContrast Ferrari are getting it done here today. The prancing stallion. The Scarlet Red come around. Matthew Dernier was going to stay with our leader for a little bit here before heading back to the on-track battles. He deserves a little bit of airtime for the race that he's putting on at the moment. 3 seconds ahead of his teammate iContrast, who's still pulling a gap on Chapelele, and Zach Crichton is stuck behind this Renault. He can't get past to start chasing those Ferraris. Aaron right up there, still with him. Oh, there's a lot of penalties just got handed out on that corner. Aaron copped one, 40 copped one, and Spilly. I don't think Spilly copped one, but he'll be now rubbing his hands together going, I've got a 3 seconds on these guys ahead of me. You want to be moving up, of course, to the podium. Challenge for that. Pleb's in 8th now, doing quite well. A little bit of a gap between him and Spilly. He's holding off Samu Pepito though. And the closest on-track battle now looks like it's going to be these three still in Zach Crichton, Aaron, 40 and Spilly, so we'll stay with this. We have 9 laps left. And it's going to be up to someone to really push now, make a difference. Not push to the extent that you put yourself into a wall though. We've seen a couple of times here today. Still some really good points on offer here. But Matthew Dernier just putting on a bit of a clinic here in the wet. Might be a little bit of a duck. He's loving the water on the surface. Got some real pace in that Ferrari out in front. Still holding that 3 second gap. If he could keep if he can keep that pace to the end of this race. It's in the bag for him at the moment. Of course, we have to struggle with the inters. I would imagine you'd be trying to manage those inters and their wear to the end of this race. Remember that Chapelele, Zach Crichton, they came in very early when the track was still dry, so they will have a bit more wear than the others. And Geordie gets a 3-second time penalty down near the back of the grid at the moment. The story here is Josh and Dougie Falcons. You can see those red arrows next to their names there. They've lost a lot of positions today. Been an unfortunate race for those two drivers after having great qualifying speed. Just has not worked out at all. But Zach Crichton has not been able to catch Chapelele. In fact, Chapelele is breaking a gap here. So we're starting to see a bit of a hierarchy in the wet weather, and Chapelele is starting to pull away. Aaron is still stuck to the back of that Mercedes, and he'll be thinking, Zach looks a little vulnerable here. Can I get something done? Levs isn't too far behind, 1.6 seconds. We saw him come around in the background. And we're still with this little train here with 40. Billy chasing him down. Plevs doing really well to get himself back in with 8th. I mentioned that before. An incident was at the back of the pack, and with the shuffling of the safety car and then the wet weather, worked out perfectly for not only him but a few other drivers. And strategy has won the race overall here. Wet weather pace and strategy to get yourself up near the front during that safety car slash drizzle that started just as the safety car was coming in. So there was a lot of decisions that had to be made on the fly by a lot of drivers. And Sammy's into the pits. Sammy's coming to the pits. And what's he going to do? Let's stay with him for the moment. There's too much close action on the track. He's going to serve a penalty. And change sides, so he's going to come right at the back, but maybe he's thinking that he needs full wets. That is interesting. He was around for some points. So if this is the wrong call, he's going to finish well at the back on those wets. But maybe he's thinking a safety car, or just gambling a little bit to try and get some extra points than that single point he was holding on to when he came in. So he's on the wets at the back of the grid. Let's go back to our race leader, Matthew Dernier, who is now 4 seconds ahead of iContrast, so racing really well. And I would say most of these drivers will be trying to hold on in these heavier conditions to the end of the race. So we see him just getting some more water onto those tyres, trying to cool them down, maybe getting a little bit too hot on the racing line. But I wouldn't want to be pitting now, that's for sure, because if your enemies, I guess you would say, around you, or your competitors, go in, don't go in, and you do go in, you're in all sorts. So I would be, unless someone flinches, you'd be wanting to stay onto the track no matter how wet it gets now, with only 4 laps left in this race. And you can see Matthew Jr. just trying to stay off the racing line as much as possible, taking a few different lines. Maybe that's where he's getting his speed from. Understandably, when the track just gets wet, it opens up the opportunity for all sorts of different lines for you to take into certain corners to help manage those tyres. And you can also get a bit more speed if you take an alternate line into a corner in the wet. It's just how one of those things is how it works in a racing car, that you can take different angles in the wet, get more traction, and end up with more seconds on the clock. And that's, or less seconds on the clock if we're talking lap times, as Matthew Dernier now has 5-second lead. Have a look at Chapelele, who's still under a second behind by contrast. He caught up to him a couple of laps ago. 40 getting past Aaron. Here we go. Spilly's going to have a look at Aaron as well. So we're going to have 3 now. It's all starting to get a bit serious. Spilly's going to have a look down on the inside of 40. 40's going to try and hold on. Maybe switch back. Aaron's going to have a look as well. The door got left open because 40 got pushed a little wide. And he's going to have a look. And saying that, Plebs has had a look and held off Miku. But he'll be thinking, oh, if these guys keep battling, I've got some points on, as Miku's going to look down the inside. No, Plebs shuts that door. And 40 now down into 7th as it all kicked off between those 3, and they've completely switched their order around. And Spilly is the winner there. He's still 1.5 seconds behind Zach Crichton, who has not been able to catch up to Chapelele. It's a bit of a comfortable gap in distance between those top 4, but the race now is kicked off between Spilly, Aaron, 40, Levs, Miku. Those 5 looking to get a few extra points for their team here today. Not only their team, but themselves. Let's see what 40 can do down this next straight, as he is very close to the back of that Red Bull here at the Red Bull ring. And we'll see some livery changes when the F1 2020 does come out. When that'll be, we're not too sure because of what's happening in the world at the moment. But Williams this year, that we never got to see on track, I thought looked a lot better than last year's livery, as we can see that one there. This one, here's one definitely a bit better. Oh, he's gone off the track. Aaron's going to have a look, and he's gone off the track. Tried to hold on to it, and that's compromised Miku, who was trying to get past Plebs. Plebs is going to be stuck on the outside here. That's not a good angle. Plebs sandwiched, and Aaron has lost all sorts of positions. So he lost complete traction down that straight when he was trying to have a look past 40. Or Spilly, sorry. And he's lost a lot of positions for that little error, and so unforgiving. The wet weather in a Formula 1 car has lost a lot of positions, as Plebs is still in 8th because Miku's managed to get past him in all of that confusion. His heart would have been in his mouth there, Miku, because he took a line to get past Plebs, and all of a sudden there's an extremely slow Red Bull in his way, blocking the road. Managed to navigate it okay. Got some odd camera angles there. I'm just trying to get Spilly. There he is. He's going to have a look here at Zach Crichton. Didn't get it done. Zach doesn't quite have the speed here today in the wet. Good strategy has put him up in the points, though, from last on the grid. And he's just a little glove tap onto the gearbox of Spilly. And Spilly's going to race away here. Now he's under threat. Zach Crichton from 40 is going to have a look as well. So that little tap lost so much momentum coming out of that corner. And 40's going to get past him too. Does he have a bit of damage there? He's just really struggling. You know what? Those tyres might be falling off a bit of a cliff here. And he spun around. There's a little bit of a tap and he spun around. Zach's in the wall. Miku's in the wall. And everyone's gone past both of those drivers. Zach's managed to stay ahead of Aaron, but he's struggling. I think those tyres have gone off. He can't keep traction here. The pitting early might not be the way, and he's gone around again. Yeah, those tyres have gone off completely, and last to the podium, back down to last again. Zach Crichton, but Chapelele, he's the one to watch. How's he handling it? Because he came in with Zach Crichton, but it looks like he's going okay. He's managed to hold on to his position. He seems to be steady, so does Spilly. Now Plebs is up into 6th. Good race here from him. Todd Start struggling there. He got a bit of wheel spin out of the back end. So last lap. Is everyone going to be pushing for broke? We've got a yellow flag. That looks like a McLaren down the back there. Probably Samu Pepito. We won't switch to that. We'll stay here. Miku's on the back of Aaron. He got caught up in Zach Crichton's loss of complete traction going around the corner. Took a few others out with him. Matthew Dernier. Tommy Pito, 5-second penalty. And this will be the story of the day. So during the race, I said penalties always come into it here in Austria. And let's see what happens here. Who's got penalties and who doesn't? Matthew Dernier is going to come around the last corner here. He's going to cross the checkered flag. And then we'll be watching everyone else to see how it plays out when their penalties get stacked on. He goes past his pit crew on the wall. Fantastic drive, Matthew Dernier. Fantastic strategy to get himself into the lead of this race. By contrast passes, he'll be on the podium. Chapelele jumps him. Chapelele has jumped by contrast. Spilly will hold his position. 40 will hold his position. Plebs generally clean. He's going to jump down the order as Todstar, Aaron, Miku. So Plebs must have had a fair few penalties there. Jump down into 9th. That'd be devastating for him. Miku's managed to jump up. So that's really good for him, who did get caught up in a bit of that carnage when we saw Zach Crichton spin, getting another penalty for himself. So we've had a fair few retirements here. Josh has retired. Sammy Pepito had to retire. Bullet Boy, we saw his accident when he reversed back onto the track. A fantastic race here. Very entertaining, changing in weather. Lots of different strategies were going on there. And it's going to be Ferrari who's going to take a bag of points into the Constructors title. Huge, huge turning point in the season, I feel that is, for Ferrari to get so many points. And a lot of people up the top there didn't get points here today. Mercedes struggled again. Red Bull had a few incidents. So really good result there for Mercedes. Great result for Matthew Dernier. He's been up and down this season. Maybe it's time for him to string a few together. And I contrast, put in a good strategy. Always consistent, always fast, and he's put himself on the podium as well. Chapelele's been racing really well too and deserved that podium and that second position. Really well done. Kept their heads in the car, pitted at the right time. Managed their tyres well. Grueling race, that one. I hope you all enjoy it. We'll see you next week. Just bring up, you can see those penalties there. A few 6 seconds. 3 seconds to a few of them. A few clean races there as well. Really well done to those guys who kept it clean. Dernier and Chapelele kept it clean. No penalties. Miku as well. Well done to those guys. It's hard to keep it clean around Austria. Hope everyone enjoyed that race today. We'll see you next week in the PS4 Elite Series. This has been a Race Spec Esport production. And I hope you really enjoyed that race. It was certainly one that we'll put into the archives because it had a lot going on. And a really good win for Ferrari, especially Matthew Dernier, today's race winner. See you next week.